On August 29, 1997, in a small office in Scotts Valley, California, Reed Hastings and Marc Randolph co-founded Netflix with a simple, practical goal: fix the late fee problem that punished movie lovers and made renting a chore. Hastings was still smarting from a $40 late fee on Apollo 13, and Randolph, a veteran Silicon Valley marketer, sketched a subscription service that mailed DVDs and removed return deadlines. That one change reoriented customer incentives. By 1998, Netflix was mailing DVDs nationwide, and in 1999 it introduced an unlimited subscription plan, replacing per-rental fees with a predictable monthly charge that rewarded loyalty. From the start, the company cultivated a customer-first culture. A simple queue let viewers prioritize titles, transparent policies eliminated surprise charges, and early investments in fulfillment centers in California and Nevada sped delivery. In the late 1990s dot-com rush, Hastings and Randolph insisted on operational rigor rather than splashy hype, inventory management, postal partnerships, and careful data capture. Their approach was practical and almost old school. Treat customers like patrons, tune logistics like clockwork, and iterate like scientists. Scotts Valley was modest, but Netflix thought big, buying catalogs and negotiating DVD supply with studios that at first saw the startup as a curiosity. Behind the modest storefront, there was a technical ambition: build a digital backbone to track preferences, test recommendation algorithms, and collect viewing data. Those systems were designed with the future in mind, the coming broadband era. In the early 2000s, as DSL and cable speeds rose across American homes, Netflix quietly prepared for streaming. It recorded play patterns, refined compression-friendly metadata, and explored licensing that could make digital delivery viable. That attention to detail and early focus on broadband set the stage for a pivot that would transform how we watch TV and follow shows. In 2007, Netflix quietly launched a Watch Now streaming feature that began shifting the company from its mail-by-post roots toward an ambitious digital future. Reed Hastings and product leaders like Neil Hunt presented it as a beta, a limited catalog, a desktop player, and an engineering testbed to prove that digital delivery could match the convenience of DVDs by mail. The team faced immediate technical problems. They had to build an encoding pipeline that compressed video without shredding quality, design buffering and playback strategies to handle uneven home broadband, and integrate DRM controls so studios would accept non-physical distribution. Engineers created metadata-driven systems that mapped each title to multiple bitrate encodings and fallbacks, and they instrumented players to report stalls, bitrates, and device types back to centralized analytics. Those telemetry streams became clockwork tools for iterative improvement, letting Netflix tune adaptive playback in the crucible of real-world bandwidth. Subscribe. Apparently it calms the buffering gods. Licensing was the other, harsher trial. Major studios and content owners were skeptical or hostile to on-demand streaming, demanding negotiations over windows, geographic rights, and copy protection. Netflix negotiated staggered deals, accepted a smaller catalog at launch, and won limited rights to a roster of films and television so it could scale with legal clarity. At the same time, the company lived with operational schizophrenia. The DVD business was a profitable, steady cash cow that financed expansion, while streaming was an unproven, capital-intensive future. Executives and investors pushed for short-term margins. Product teams pushed for aggressive engineering and platform spending. Hastings staved off retrenchment by presenting data on usage patterns, churn forecasts, and long-term customer value, making a disciplined case for investment. On the product side, Watch Now was deliberately constrained. Fewer simultaneous streams, a curated selection of titles, and a careful rollout of device support to control the user experience. That conservatism masked ferocious work behind the scenes: load testing to simulate millions of concurrent streams, partnerships with device makers to port players, and development of content protection stacks to satisfy rights holders. By the end of 2007, the experiment had created momentum and a stark choice for Netflix: protect the mail-order empire and slow innovation, or commit to streaming infrastructure, licensing muscle, and a new programming strategy. The company chose to build the infrastructure, setting the gears in motion for the audacious moves that would follow. Netflix turned telemetry into a treasure map. Engineers and data scientists instrumented every stream: start times, pauses, abandonments, completion rates, and device types, and fed those signals into recommendation engines like Cinematch and into A/B tests that ran constantly. The $1 million Netflix prize, launched in 2006, sharpened that obsession with prediction by inviting outside teams to improve collaborative filtering. When the Belcore team produced the winning solution in 2009, it confirmed Netflix's belief that data could reveal latent demand. Ted Sarandos, who rose through content at Netflix after joining in 2000, began marrying editorial judgment to statistical insight. If the data showed sustained, devoted cohorts for political dramas, period pieces, or foreign language thrillers, Netflix could pursue underserved niches faster than any broadcast network. Those signals led to concrete experiments. In 2012, Netflix licensed and co-produced the Norwegian series Lilyhammer as an early test of commissioning outside U.S. networks, treating the run as a lab for release strategies, metadata tagging, and cross-border licensing. At the same time, product teams ran experiments on release cadence and found viewers liked elastic consumption, the binge, which changed how Netflix thought about episode drops and season commitments. The operational learning curve was raw and public. In July 2011, Netflix announced a price restructuring that separated DVD by mail from streaming, raising the combined monthly cost for many subscribers. The proposed Quickster spin-off and the higher price provoked customer ire and widespread media criticism. By September 2011, Reed Hastings acknowledged the mistake, backpedaled on Quickster, and issued a public apology. The episode cost Netflix subscribers and prestige and taught a vital lesson about brand trust, communications, and the political limits of rapid product pivots. That backlash also clarified another fear: licensing was brittle. Studios imposed windows, pulled content, and raised fees, exposing Netflix to churn whenever coveted titles vanished. The data showed how quickly satisfaction could erode as libraries thinned, even with strong personalization. Internally, boardrooms and content teams increasingly argued that ownership, commissioning and owning IP outright, would neutralize licensing vulnerability and let Netflix use its data to shape storytelling. By the end of 2012, the company had hardened a new hypothesis. If recommendation telemetry could predict audiences, and if commissioning could lock supply, then vertically integrating into content production was not a luxury, but a defensive imperative. That line of thinking set the stage for the audacious originals that followed. Netflix moved from analytics to audacity with a single concentrated bet that crystallized in House of Cards. Reed Hastings and Ted Sarandos turned telemetry, completion rates, cohort appetite for political dramas, and binging patterns into a commissioning thesis. Own the story, own the window, and control the release. To show they meant business, Netflix courted marquee talent. David Fincher signed on as director and executive producer, Kevin Spacey agreed to star, Beau Willimon adapted the material for American television, and Robin Wright was cast as Claire Underwood. That roster turned a streaming experiment into a production event. The gamble was simple and high stakes. Greenlight a full season instead of a pilot, finance and distribute all 13 episodes at once, and release them worldwide on the same day. That date, February 1st, 2013, became the hinge for the strategy. Inside Netflix in Los Gatos, engineers, product managers, and marketers synchronized like clockmakers. Encoding teams prepared multiple bitrate versions and device ports to ensure flawless playback on televisions, tablets, and phones. Telemetry pipelines were primed to capture every start, pause, and completion in real time. Product leaders rewired the homepage, thumbnails, and recommendation surfaces to prioritize the series. Marketing focused scarce budget on targeted trailers, homepage real estate, email pushes, and placements on connected television devices to drive first-week traction. The stakes were sharp. Licensing could vanish, so originals promised stability, but required big, upfront creative and operational commitment. If House of Cards failed to attract viewers at scale, churn would rise, investor confidence would wobble, and the conviction to commission more originals could evaporate. If it succeeded, Netflix would validate a new distribution model. Full season drops that harness binging, global rollouts that unify fandom, and data-driven commissioning that rewards owning intellectual property. Netflix treated the launch as a make-or-break experiment. Editorial embraced data without surrendering craft. Production aimed for cinematic values to win critical respect. Engineering treated the premiere like a live performance, ready to scale capacity, fix playback glitches, and iterate thumbnails and metadata on the fly. When February 1st, 2013 arrived and all 13 episodes hit every Netflix-enabled screen across available territories, the platform watched the metrics like a bank watching a vault. The outcome of those first weeks would determine whether Netflix would remain a logistics-driven mail and stream company or become a studio that reshaped how shows are made, released, and devoured. On February 1st, 2013, Netflix released all 13 episodes of House of Cards across its global service. The platform's verdict arrived in days, not quarters. Reviews in the New York Times, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter framed David Fincher's direction and Kevin Spacey's performance as cinematic in scale, and social conversation on Twitter and Facebook swelled into what many called appointmentless appointment viewing. Critics used Gilded Age adjectives like cinematic, audacious, and uncompromising, and viewers answered in the telemetry. Inside Netflix's Los Gatos operations, the data told a clear story. Unusually high start rates, elevated completion metrics, rapid successive episode consumption consistent with binging, and cross-border uptake in markets where the catalog had previously lagged. Marketing funnels filled, retention curves flattened where the show took hold, and editorial teams watched thumbnails and recommendation algorithms amplify discovery in real time. The cultural momentum translated into concrete commercial signals. Churn stabilized after the premiere, trial-to-paid conversion improved in targeted cohorts, and skeptical executives saw data that justified ownership instead of licensing. The launch produced an unmistakable public proof point. Netflix could commission, finance, and globally premiere a prestige series that attracted top talent like Robin Wright and Beau Willimon and millions of serialized viewers without a network's imprimatur. That validation collapsed the central tension. Streaming was no longer an experimental distribution layer tethered to others' catalogs. It had become a Gilded Age studio model that could both craft and control stories. The success of February 1st, 2013 closed the experiment and opened a new playbook for release cadence, global rollouts, and fandom that immediately set expectations for the television industry going forward. After Netflix premiered House of Cards on February 1st, 2013, its gamble proved a thesis. Full season drops could change everything. Binge watching became normal as viewers shifted from appointment TV to consuming whole seasons at once, and the release model rewired viewing habits and marketing rhythms. Global simultaneous distribution collapsed regional windows and let shows seed fandoms across continents in hours rather than weeks. Competitors, from Amazon and Hulu to later entrants like Disney+, HBO Max, and Apple TV+, multiplied, igniting the streaming wars and driving escalating content budgets and licensing battles. Creators and studios faced new economics, larger upfront budgets, guaranteed rights, and commissioning guided by telemetry instead of executive taste. Data-driven commissioning rewarded proven audience patterns and reshaped how writers, showrunners, and agents pitched projects. Promotion and fandom migrated into real-time social ecosystems where Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube amplified spoilers, memes, and fan theories around simultaneous drops. Netflix's original DVD by mail model receded into a niche service as streaming originals became dominant, shifting how value is captured and distributed. That Gilded Age arc, from mailroom logistics to streaming studio, poses a cultural question. Who will steward storytelling when algorithms measure our hunger? And what stories will we let algorithms crown?